So in this video, what we're going to do is what's called rigging a ship. We're going to edit in pcs2 to go from what is a model to what is to something FSO can interpret and understand. So what I've got here is I've got the model fighter for the antagonist, the Starcracker, and I've loaded the Starcracker, the tables, and the maps into our mod. So that's what I'm going to be working with for this video. Now, you'll notice that the Starcracker only has one sub-object, so one level of detail. It has a texture. It has 3 gun banks. It has 3 missile banks. It has a docking point, a thruster with 3 glow points, a path, and it has an eye point. So we're going to learn how to make all of those things, which is part of rigging a ship. Okay. So before I just want to take a quick look at what that corresponds to in the tables. Notice that unlike most ships, there is only one level of detail in this ship. That's okay as long as you don't specify a actual line, that detailed distance line that we were talking about a couple videos ago. That line can't be in there, otherwise FSO will throw an error. Your tables and your parallax object file have to match. Also notice that there are no subsystems. That's okay as long as you don't specify any subsystems in the tables. Okay, so great. Now let's get started here. So what I did is I took a version of this parallax object file that is just a sub-object and a texture. What we were working with before. This is enough to just turn this into a missile. I could type Starcracker POF in for the Rockeye or something like that, and turn, make the Rockeye fire a bunch of Starcrackers. I don't recommend that, but you can do that. Okay. So before we start actually rigging this, I want to talk a little bit about pcs2 and the general user interface. So I've got something open in Paint here to help us illustrate that. We've got this section here, which is sort of like our object hierarchy, and what is selected here determines this menu here on the right. So you can see I have sub-objects detail 0 selected here, so I get a whole bunch of information about detail 0, including the height, the width, and the depth, or how long the ship is. So that's all important information when you want to determine the scale of the ship. If you have a fighter that's the size of a destroyer, your mod is weird. So in order to make everything to scale, you can change the scale in PCS2 using the transform property right here. So if you have the sub-object detail 0 selected, click this transform property. So let's do that. Click the transform property and then click scale, and you could scale all axes, and you could determine the scale of your ship. So if you put a number between 0 and 1 here, you're going to get, like, let's say 0.5. You're going to make it half size. And if you put 2 in there, you're going to make it twice the size. So you kind of see how it works. So, okay. So that's that. Oh, actually, you have to have detail 0 selected. I didn't have detail 0 selected, so there you go. 2, and then scale it back down. 0.5. There you go. Okay. Good enough. Now let's start adding points. The first thing I want to add is an eye point. An eye point is basically what the camera is looking through. So let's say I'm flying this ship. My camera is dependent on the position of the eye point. Alright, so if we, in order to select eye point, we want to, right here. Select the actual eye point in your category, and notice this on the right here. There's yellow, there's blue, and there's red. Yellow is for create new, blue is for copy, and red is for delete. So we want to create a new one. So select eye points, and then click that yellow guy. And you've created an eye point, but you can't see it. So in order to reposition the eye point so you can see it, because it's positioned in the center of your ship. But if you hold Alt, and while holding Alt, left click and drag, you can drag that sucker right out. So let's talk about movement for a little bit here. You'll notice these three icons at the top, that constrains your movement. When you hold Alt and drag, that's you can move it along the YZ plane or the XY plane, or just like in Fred. And so let's do that. Drag this guy. So right now I'm moving him along the XZ plane, and I want to move him to the cockpit so it looks like I'm looking out of the cockpit. So now constrained to the XY plane. Now I can, whoops, sorry, constrained to the YZ plane, and now I can drag him up a little bit and just get it to where you need to get it. Okay, that's decent enough. So the eye point will be looking out of that position. Now, why did I spend so much time talking about this? Because this is how you set points, weapon points, glow points, all sorts of points are repositioned using this same method. Now the other way to reposition is by using this offset on the right here. So the offset is located here. That's the offset. And basically what the offset is three numbers, X, Y, Z, and modifying those numbers literally modifies the position of your ship. So let's say for the Z-axis it's 11, it's about 11 right now. Let's make it 15. You'll notice that it moves forward on the Z-axis. And if I change that to negative 15, you can see that it moved way back there. So let's change it back to 11. Okay. All right. So that's how you set points. All right. So now weapon points. Creating weapon points. So when you create weapon points, you have to have the weapon points selected, and then just like you did in the for the eye point, you click the yellow guy, but click him in bank. So all right, we click the yellow guy, and then we've got a point. We've got a bank. I'm sorry. And if you press Alt and drag, notice that the gun bank doesn't have a point assigned to it. We have to create points. So in order to create points, we've got to click. Wow, sorry, this looks a little cluttered, but you can see if I select paintbrush. There we go. Click that guy. All right. So to create a point that's assigned to the bank. All right. So if I hold Alt and drag, there he is right there. Okay. So let's say I want to put him just over the wing. So it looks like it's a wing gun or something like that. Okay. Now, I recommend you could create a new point and create a second point, but I recommend copying the point that you already have. And when you hit copy, which is the blue button, you hit the blue button, and then you've got a new point that's on top of your previous point. So we've copied the point right there. And so now you have one gun bank and 2 gun points. All right. So now let's talk about missiles. For missiles, actually, no, sorry, I don't want to talk about missiles yet. Let's talk about what is affected by if I only want to have one gun bank. If I only want to have one gun bank, I have a table that assumes I have 3 gun banks. Remember what I said before. So in order to change that, in order to make it passable so that I have a table that matches my parallax object file, I have to... actually, I'll explain that in the next video because, yeah, I'll explain that in the next video.